Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to the final Bracketology update of 2020. This one is for December 29th, and man, the Big Ten, man, this is just so crazy. They're going to get like 11 or 12 teams in the NCAA tournament. That conference is just so unbelievable. So many teams are good, so many teams making runs, and just upsetting all the others, like Iowa lost to Minnesota. Then Minnesota goes and just absolutely destroys Michigan State last night. Then you got Maryland upsetting Wisconsin. Man, things are just absolutely crazy. You got Illinois in there as well. Michigan, I'm pretty sure they're undefeated. Rutgers, I think, is undefeated too. Then it's just absolutely crazy. You got Ohio State in there, not Florida, Purdue, Indiana, just all these crazy teams in there. Man, I am just so impressed watching the Big Ten. But anyway, taking a look here at the movements in the regions. Up there in Region 1, we got Gonzaga still remaining the number one overall seed. They have, I think, in their first 7 games, they've beaten 4 top 25 teams, which I think is an NCAA record in your first 7 games to beat 4 top 25 teams. I mean, they just look fantastic. I mean, spoiler alert, they're probably just going to go ahead and win this bracketology just because it's absolutely crazy what they're doing right now. They just look fantastic. They beat Virginia by like 23 this past week. But man, they just look absolutely crazy. On the other hand, you have Kentucky, who fell to 1-6 after losing to Louisville. So, I mean, unless Kentucky wins the SEC tournament, unless they go like 18-0 or maybe even like 17-1 or whatever in SEC play, there's not really a realistic chance they're going to make the tournament this year. And I've accepted that as a Kentucky fan, and I hope the Kentucky fans watching this video, I hope you've accepted it too. I mean, we're like North Carolina last year, but even worse than North Carolina last year. At least North Carolina could win some games against somebody other than Morehead State. But taking a look here at the movement, in Region 1, we have Florida now down to an 8. And by the way, Keontae Johnson is now acting as like a coach on the sideline. Not sure if he's going to return to active play this year, but it is nice to see him back up and moving and helping out over there on that Florida sideline. So congratulations to him on his recovery. Then you got Indiana falling down to a 9, Clemson up to a 6. They've been looking really good. Got a huge game against Florida State tonight, so I'll be watching that to see what happens. And we got UConn and SMU as the playing game. South Dakota State down to a 14. Xavier up to a 7. NC State new to the field as a 10 after beating North Carolina. Or I can't remember if they beat North Carolina. They beat somebody last week that was really impressive. It may have been North Carolina. I don't know. But then over there in Region 2, we got Baylor remaining the 1 seed. Arkansas up to an 8. They've just kind of been flipping between an 8 and a 9 seed over the past couple of weeks. And we got Purdue down to a 9. San Diego State up to a 5. Virginia down to a 6. Boise State new to the field as the Mountain West Conference representative as an 11, so they'll probably hop out there. I think they're like 1-0 or 2-0 in conference play, and they're the leaders, and that's why they're in. And then we got Iowa down to a 3 after losing their past 2 games against Gonzaga and then Minnesota. And we got Minnesota. Speaking of Minnesota, they are absolutely killing it. They are the team I am watching right now. They're like 7-1 or 8-1, something like that. The 2 huge wins over Iowa and Michigan State, and that's why they're new to the field as a 7 seed. They jumped from being not even in the field last week to being a 7 seed this week. They just had a really impressive stretch of games. And Tennessee is now up to a 2 seed. Then over there in Region 3, we got Villanova remaining the 1, UCLA down to a 9, Florida State up to a 5, and as I mentioned, they're playing Clemson tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that game. Western Kentucky down to a 12, Georgia State up to a 13, Duke down to a 6. Then we got USC and Richmond as the playing game, West Virginia down to a 3, Louisville up to a 7, LSU down to a 10, and then Houston up to a 2. Then over there in Region 4, we got Kansas remaining the last number 1 seed, Michigan State down to an 8. I think they've lost 2 or 3 in a row at this point. They just do not look good. Ever since they beat Duke at Duke's home court, they just have not been looking impressive at all, down to an 8 seed now after being I think they were the final 1 seed after the Duke game, so they are free falling right now, and I mean, I don't blame Joe Lunardi for seeding them that way. Then we got Virginia Tech up to a 9, Ohio State up to a 5, Missouri up to a 4. They've been really impressive this year. Almost lost to Bradley, though. I was keeping an eye on that because I had been betting on college basketball games, and I had Missouri in a parlay, so it was pretty stressful to watch. Then we got Toledo up to a 13, Northwestern new to the field as an 11. They are now in the top 25. They have been looking really good in Big Ten play. I think they're undefeated, like 3-0 or something like that, but they are looking really good too. Chris Collins is doing a good job over there. Then we got New Mexico State down to a 14, Colorado up to a 7, and then UC Irvine new to the field as a 15. They're whatever conference they're in, they're the representative for that. So then over here, if we take a look here at the bubble, last 4 buys are LSU, Syracuse, NC State, Stanford. Last 4 in the playing games are Richmond, UConn, USC, and SMU. First four out are BYU, Oklahoma, Maryland, who got that big win over Wisconsin yesterday, and then Seton Hall. And then the next four out are Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State, Arizona, Ole Miss, and Providence. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and make my predictions here for the tournament based off of this bracketology. Up first, we got Gonzaga versus the winner of Mount St. Mary's and Norfolk State. So obviously Gonzaga is going to win that. Then we got Florida and Indiana. I think I'll go with Florida there. That's pretty much a coin flip for me, 50-50. I have no clue who would win that game, so I'm just going to go with the higher seed there. Then we're going to have Oregon beat Winthrop. Then we got Texas Tech beating Furman, so this was going to look pretty chalky here. Then we got Clemson beating UConn, or I think UConn will beat SMU, but then Clemson would end up beating UConn. Then we're going to have Illinois beat South Dakota State. Then we're going to go with Xavier beating NC State, and then Texas beating Abilene Christian, so no upsets there. But as we continue on through this region, we're going to have Gonzaga beat Florida. Then we're going to have Texas Tech with Mac McClung and Chris Beard doing a fantastic job. I mean, the last time the tournament was played, Texas Tech made the national championship game. So I have trust in Chris Beard to make a run here through the tournament. We're going to have Texas Tech in there as a Sweet 16 team. Then we're going to have Illinois Iota Sumu beating Clemson. Then we're also going to have Xavier falling to Texas. Texas has been looking really good. I mean, they're a 2 seed. If you had told me before the season that Texas was going to be a 2 seed, I would have told you were crazy. But I mean, hey, they're in there now. So then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we will have Gonzaga beat Texas Tech. And then we're going to have a slight upset here. We're going to have Illinois beat Texas Tech. I'm just more confident in Illinois than I am in Texas Tech at this point. Nothing against Texas Tech. I just think Illinois is a better team. But then they will fall to the to the terrain that just is Gonzaga. They're just going to run over them there and get into the Final Four. So then if we go over here to Region 2, we're going to have Baylor beating the winner of Texas Southern and Stony Brook. Then we're going to go with Purdue upsetting Arkansas there. I don't know if Arkansas's lost this season, but they haven't really, I don't think they've really played over the last couple of weeks. Maybe they had a COVID issue or something. Then we're going to have San Diego State beat Loyola Chicago. Then we're going to have Rutgers beat Wright State. Then I'm going to go with my first upset pick here and go with Boise State. I really don't know what to think of Virginia this year. I mean, they ended up losing to San Francisco. They just can't really beat anybody too good. And then they always have those struggles in the NCAA tournament. Besides winning the national championship a couple years ago, and I'm just not too sold on Virginia this year. Then we're going to have Iowa end up beating Belmont. Then we're going to have Minnesota beat Stanford. And then we're also going to have Tennessee beating Hofstra. So then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we will have Baylor here moving on past Purdue. And then Rutgers moving on past San Diego State. Then we're going to have Iowa beating the 11 seed Boise State to get into the Sweet 16. And then we're going to go with our first big upset here and go with Minnesota here over Tennessee. That is in large part due to the fact that Tennessee just hasn't really played any. I mean, they just started playing at the beginning of December, and they haven't really beaten any. I don't think they've beaten a single top 25 team so far. And I mean, Minnesota, as I've said throughout the course of this video, they have just been killing it over the past couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure they're 8-1 now. And I think that the way that they're playing right now, they would beat Tennessee. So I'm going to have Minnesota win in that game, which sets up an Elite 8 matchup of we're going to have Baylor beating Rutgers there. And then, you know what? Why not let it fly? These two teams just played. I think it was like Friday or Saturday. I can't remember what day it was. And Minnesota beat Iowa in overtime. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to have Minnesota beat Iowa there. I mean, they just proved that they could beat them. So we're going to put them in the Elite 8 here as a 7 seed. But then they will fall to Baylor, who is just the second best team in the nation. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. Baylor has not lost so far. I mean, they haven't really played anybody too good. I mean, they did play Illinois, and they destroyed Illinois. So I will give them credit for that. But we'll kind of see what happens there. But then we're also going to have Villanova here moving on past St. Peter's in the Region 3. Then we're going to have St. Louis beat UCLA. Florida State will fall to Western Kentucky. I am pretty big on Western Kentucky this year. Beat Alabama, have been beating a couple of pretty decent mid-majors, and then a couple like lower Power 5 conference teams. I think that they could pull off the upset there, and they have one of the best players in the nation in Charles Bassey. And we're going to have Michigan beat Georgia State. Duke, I think, would be able to beat the winner of USC and Richmond, which I think would probably be Richmond. Then we're going to have West Virginia moving on past Liberty. Then we're going to have Louisville beat LSU, and then Houston moving on against Colgate. So then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we will have Villanova here moving on past St. Louis. Then we're going to have Michigan moving on past Western Kentucky. I think Michigan would be able to handle them. Then I'm going to go with Duke here moving on past West Virginia. West Virginia has been looking good. Now I think Mike Krzyzewski will get this Duke team turned around in time for the tournament. And they will face the winner of Louisville and Houston, which I think will be Houston. They're looking really impressive this season. I think they're number 4 in the AP poll right now. They are looking pretty good. But then for a spot in the Elite Eight, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with Michigan pulling off the 4-1 upset. Villanova did end up losing to Virginia Tech earlier this year. Michigan, I'm pretty sure, is undefeated at this point in the season. And why not just go with an upset there? I think this is a rematch of a championship game. I want to say the 2018 championship game, Villanova and Michigan. And I think Michigan gets their revenge there. I'm pretty sure Villanova ended up winning that game. But then we're also going to have the winner of Duke and Houston moving on. And I'm going to pick Houston with Quentin Grimes moving on there. I think that they can beat Duke, which sets up Michigan and Houston for a spot in the Final Four game. That would be a fun game to watch. And I'm going to go with Michigan as a 4 seed, moving on into the Final Four out of that Region 3. So then over here in Region 4, we're going to have Kansas beat Southern Utah. Then we're going to have, if I can pick Kansas there. And then we're going to go with Virginia Tech here moving on. Why is it not letting me pick Kansas? All right, there we go. We're going to have Virginia Tech here moving on past Michigan State. Michigan State is just trending in a downfall right now. Then we're going to have Ohio State here moving on past Davidson. Missouri, I think, will be able to beat Toledo. Then we're going to go with North Carolina moving on past Northwestern. I think Northwestern could pull off the upset there, but I'm just not completely sold on it. Then we're going to go with Creighton here moving on past New Mexico State. Syracuse pulling off the 10-7 upset of Colorado. And then Wisconsin moving on past UC Irvine. And you know what? This is the point in the video to where I'll pick a random fruit or vegetable for you guys to comment if you're watching this video, so I know you're a loyal subscriber, loyal viewer, to where you're watching through this video instead of just watching like the first couple of minutes. If you are watching the video at this time, let's see, what do I want you guys to comment? You know what? Let's comment banana. Why not just let it fly? We'll just go with banana. So if you're watching the video at this point, just comment banana so I know you're a true subscriber and a true viewer. So then if we go over here to the Sweet 16, we will have Kansas here moving on past Virginia Tech. I think Ohio State will be able to beat Missouri. Missouri just beat Bradley on their home court by 1 point. So I think Ohio State would be able to win that matchup there. Then we're going to go with Creighton here moving on past North Carolina, and then Wisconsin moving on past Syracuse. And then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we will have Kansas here moving on past Ohio State. And then we're going to have Creighton pulling off the upset against Wisconsin. If Wisconsin had beaten Maryland last night, probably would have picked Wisconsin to win that. But right now, I am going to go with Creighton pulling off the victory there. And then I know that I just picked Minnesota to beat Iowa because those teams had just played. And earlier this season, Kansas beat Creighton by I think like 1 or 2 points, but that was on Kansas's home court, I'm pretty sure. And I'm a pretty strong fan of Creighton this year. I'm going to pick Creighton here moving on to the Final Four out of Region 4 as the 3 seed. So we're going to have 2 number 1 seeds, a 3 seed, and a 4 seed here in the Final Four. So out of this first matchup here, we have Gonzaga versus Creighton. I think Gonzaga would win that one by like 12 points. Gonzaga is going to move on to the national championship game. And we got Baylor versus Michigan, battle of the 2 green teams. We are going to have Baylor end up winning that one too, which sets up, this will probably be my championship matchup for the majority of bracketology updates until one of these 2 teams loses, basically. So we're going to have Gonzaga versus Baylor in the national championship game, and I am going to go with Gonzaga because they've played 7 games and have beaten 4 top 25 teams in those 7 games. So that's just pretty crazy. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you all later.